Hi there, folks, and welcome to our Learn Live session here at Microsoft Ignite. My name is Gomolemo, and I am a cloud advocate at Microsoft, focused on Power Apps and Fusion developments. I am so excited to be here with you as part of this amazing conference that we're having. We'll be covering a Microsoft Learn module titled "Use Microsoft Copilot to Build Next-Gen Copilots." You can access the module by either following the link on screen or by scanning the QR code and accessing the module that way. But for the next hour or so, we'll be covering the content of that module on screen for you now. Today, I'm with my colleague, Japhlet. How are you?
Hello, Gomolemo. How's it over there?
I'm good. It is quite late, just after 11:30 p.m., but I am good.
Great. It's interesting. It's 10:30 p.m. over here too. But it's amazing to be speaking at this Learn Live session and to be featuring our Microsoft Ignite. I'm Japhlet Nwamu, and I am a cloud advocate with the Growth and Ecosystems team. And it's my pleasure to be back again this year to share with you all some amazing things that are happening at Microsoft Ignite. And interestingly, this year, we will be talking about an amazing solution which was launched at Microsoft Ignite. So stay tuned for that. But hey, we're not alone here. We have a couple of amazing fellows who are behind the scenes in the chat section, and they are keeping an eyes on your questions, on your comments, just to make sure it goes well. I have Kinfey Lo, who is a cloud advocate on the same team as me, and we get to help people to learn about technology and do the amazing stuff that they need to do. And then we also have Alicia Tapia, who is a tech strategist at Microsoft, another amazing fellow who is in the chat section to make sure that your questions are answered. Aside these amazing moderators and ourselves who are presenting, we have you all who are joining this live session. Thank you for attending Microsoft Ignite, and thank you for also joining this specific session. But hey, we don't want this entire session to be boring, so please be sure to use the interactive chat section. Say hi over there. Tell us where you're joining from. I'm joining from Nigeria. Tell us some of the amazing things that you have seen happening at Microsoft Ignite that you're excited about. And we can't wait to dive into this session proper with you. As Gomolemo had mentioned, this specific live session is based off a module with the team create Copilots with Microsoft Copilot Studio. Don't forget to utilize the link that's been displayed on the screen, aka.ms/learnlive-2023 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝐶. It will take you to that Learn module, and you could have access to it. Or you could also utilize the QR code, just scan it and it take you directly to the Learn module. Gomolemo, would you like to talk a little bit about some of the things we're going to learn from this session?
Yeah, sure. So some of the learning objectives that we have in the session, they mirror the ones from the Learn module as well. First up, we're going to be spending a bit of time just speaking about Microsoft Copilot Studio. It is a brand new product which was announced yesterday. So we'll just spend some time just speaking about what that means and what types of opportunities that opens up for us. And then we're also going to be speaking about some of the generative AI capabilities that come with it and how you can use that to create amazing co-pilots. And then we're going to have a bit of an exercise where both Japhlet and I will be taking you through how to build a co-pilot with Copilot Studio, especially using AI to not only generate answers from different data sets, but also to generate things like topics, phrases, and responses as well. So I'm pretty excited for this module. Like we said, it is day 2 of Ignite. It has been an amazing event so far. We've had 2 amazing keynotes, which covered a plethora of announcements surrounding dev tooling with Visual Studio, GitHub, the Power Platform, along with all the amazing updates with Azure and infrastructure, data, and of course, AI. But today, we're going to be introducing you to, of course, Microsoft Copilot Studio. This is again, a product that was announced yesterday, and I love the tagline that we see on screen, right? Your Copilot, your way. And that's exactly what it is. It's an end-to-end conversational AI platform that lets you create and customize powerful AI-powered copilots using natural language or a graphical interface for a whole range of requests, from providing simple answers to common questions to resolving issues requiring complex multi-turn conversations and all the other features that you've come to know with conversational AI. So this type of tool enables you to engage with customers and employees across industries, departments, roles in multiple languages across websites, mobile apps, and any channel that you may choose across the Azure Bot framework. Now, for those who might not have caught the announcements, with Copilot Studio being an end-to-end conversational AI platform, there are multiple ways in which you can build out these rich conversational experiences. Starting with building your own Copilot, right? You can go ahead and create and publish a custom Copilot for your business using the intuitive building experience of the Copilot Studio and the large language models and generative AI. In addition to creating your own copilots, what's interesting about this is that you can go ahead and customize and extend the Microsoft Copilot. So if you're interacting with Copilots in any specific way, you can also use Microsoft Copilot Studio to extend that Copilot with your own sorts of workflows, using plugins that connect to your specific data, right? And one other thing, and this is something that I'm also quite excited for, is the connected platform of the Copilot Studio, right? Since Copilot Studio is essentially built on the foundation of, of PVA and other conversational AI technologies like Azure AI Studio, Azure Cognitive Services, Bot Framework, Power Platforms AI, and so much more. And lastly, no Microsoft product would be complete without its rich security and governance experiences, where you have a large breadth of governance and control features that enable you to monitor usage across this platform with full visibility around all the customized copilots that you create, the standalone from scratch copilots that you create as well as who is building, who is customizing across the entire environment. I don't know about you, Japhlet, but this is a pretty, I think, revolutionary tool to come out of Microsoft in the last few months.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting. It's actually changing the way we did lots of these things, now giving us the ability to actually create things on our own, things dependent on our data, things dependent on the processes, the instructions, the prompts that we give it. And that's really something that I love about the entire solution. What's something else you actually love that for you stood out during the announcement of Microsoft Copilot Studio?
It's actually what is on our screen right now. In addition to, extending and customizing some of the capabilities of the original Microsoft Copilots, it's this ability to build our own custom Copilot as well. And this is really the focus of this Learn Live. And there are 2 main ways in which we can do that, those 2 ways which we will be covering later on in the session. The first is that generative AI parts of creating copilots. So you can use AI to essentially make your copilots useful right off the bat. All you have to do is give it a resource, and it will use generative AI to consolidate information from those resources to answer any questions your users might have. But the other part that I'm quite excited for is the ability to use natural language to build out the topics that you create inside of your Copilot. So topics are essentially these nodes or these workflows that your Copilot can work through, because of course you can use the generative AI capabilities to create these conversations. But if you want to have more control over the type of data that is being pushed out by your Copilot, then you are able to use natural language to build out those topics as well. And again, we will be covering this quite shortly.
Yeah. And I'm also excited about that feature because for me personally, while building bots, it was a little bit difficult coming up with those topics, coming up with those nodes and saying, how do I connect them? How do I ensure I have the right variable for this specific node? How do I ensure I'm connecting them properly? But hey, if you were not convenient with that, you were like me, Microsoft Copilot Studio is actually making that process super, super easy for you. Don't worry, we'll show you how it goes. But just before we dive into the demos, would you like to probably talk us through, Gomolemo, what we are going to be working on during the demo section?
Sure. As I briefly mentioned earlier on, a large part or a big part or an exciting part of building Copilots with Copilot Studio is the fact that you can use something called generative answers, or what is previously known as conversational boosters. So essentially, when you are creating your custom Copilots, you are able to give it, for example, a website, right? A website, either a public external facing website or internal websites or internal links to like things like your internal SharePoint sites, or you can connect to data in Azure OpenAI, or more recently, you can upload documents. So if you have certain policies and documents that you keep internal, you can use this existing knowledge base that your companies have worked so hard on, and upload those knowledge bases into the bots right from the get-go. And it'll use generative AI to create answers based on that data. So if I were to use the Copilot in any way, and if my question references something in that data, I don't have to do much to the bot. I just have to point the dots to that data set, and it will try and create an answer. And what's great about this feature, it's not just a one and gone, right? You are able to enable multi-turn chats over this data as well. Again, a feature which we've all come to know and love when it comes to conversational AI. So we made sure not to miss that in Copilot Studio as well. But the other part is the generative builder, which is something that Japhlet will be covering.
Yeah. So for the generative builder section, another exciting feature, it's actually helping you to create your topics, helping you create all the nodes that you need without you having to do much of the brainstorming, much of the thinking. But here's another great feature that I love most. It's actually helping you improve your topics by giving you suggestions. It also helps you create the phrases, the descriptions, the names that you would need for your topics. So all you need to do is input a prompt, tell it what you need to do, and then it's going to create everything for you. Another thing is the fact that in between these different nodes, aside the fact that it can create a note specifically for you, it can also help you edit your notes. So probably you need something to be attached, maybe a message to be attached to a specific note, or a question to be attached to a specific note. This generative builder feature would actually help modify it and make that possible for you. Within minutes, you can go ahead to author your different topics and actually bring your bots to life. Don't worry, during the entire period of the demo, we'll be showing you how this works. So I think we should probably head over there, and Gomolemo will show you what the generative answer section of the Microsoft Copilot Studio looks like.
Yeah, sure. And please feel free to, again, ask any questions that you might have in the chat. You know, we have an amazing team in the back end who are helping us answer some of those questions. So with that, we'll be moving on to our exercise where we will be building a Copilot inside of Copilot Studio, especially with the new AI capabilities. Let me just go ahead and just close this slide deck here. Let's open up Copilot Studio. And again, how we access this is just through copilotstudio.microsoft.com. Hopefully everyone can see what's on screen. Do let us know if you're having any issues there. So it's very similar. If you have used PVA in the past, it's quite familiar in that sense. Again, a lot of the features and the capabilities of PVA are now part of Copilot Studio. We'll just go ahead and create a brand new Copilot there, and let's give it a name. So I'll go ahead and call it Surface Copilot. I'll name that Ignite. And then, as we said earlier on, you can now use a multitude of different languages, much more than we had before. So again, I'll just stick to English there. Once you set your Copilot language at the beginning, you know, that's it. You can't really do much after that as well when it comes to the language. And this is where the magic really happens. Right now, we're creating an empty Copilot, right? There's no data, there's no real conversational flow. But what we can do is we can add in a website. So what I'll do is I have the Microsoft Surface website opened up on the side here. And then with that, I'll go ahead and just paste that in. So we have a website, we have a sort of knowledge base or a starting off knowledge base that we'd like to put in there. And we will go ahead and create our Copilot. Again, that's all we had to do. We had to just name it, select a language, and point it to an initial data source there. And this is what it looks like. Let me just close the testing pane of the Copilot here. And we'll see we have things like generative AI. A lot of what we've just been speaking about with the generative answers, with the generative building, is in this generative AI section. So we'll go into that just now. You can also create custom topics, right? So apart from just using AI to create answers for you, you can go ahead and have further control with the types of topics that your Copilot, you know, works with. And this is also something brand new with the plugins, right? If you want to connect to data that is not in a website, that's not sitting in a document somewhere or a SharePoint site, maybe you connect to the data through an API or a connector, you are able to then create a plugin that taps into that data. So when people are asking questions through your Copilot, then it's able to tap into that data as well. And this is something that's been a long time coming. And of course, the big one is that you can extend any of the Microsoft Copilots that your company uses, which is actually pretty cool. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and open up the testing panel for the Copilot. And because we have added in that that website for the Surface, I will go ahead and just ask a basic question here. I'll say, what is the latest Surface laptop, right? And I'll go ahead and hit send. And hopefully what that should do is it'll read my question. It'll look at the data sets that I gave it, and it'll bring out the latest Surface laptop, right? This is the Surface Laptop 4. I do know that there might be one later, but again, if you're looking at the data source, it's referencing the South African websites, as we see from that globalization key there. So I'm a bit sad to say we don't have the latest Surface laptop, but as you can tell, it is referencing the latest information. So you know that your users, your Copilot users, will always have the latest information from there. What do you think about that, Japhlet? That is pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. I actually love the fact that you don't have to go through the entire process of having to update at intervals and adding the new information and improve your notes to take the correct send out the correct messages. It does everything for you and ensures that they are updated. And that's super, super interesting. One other feature that I love with this.
Yeah, one of the phrases that has been thrown with this particular feature is that it makes your chatbot instantly useful, right? All you did was you pointed it to a data store and it works straight away without you actually customizing anything, which is pretty cool. So if we click into our generative AI section here, you will then see how that works. Specifically, we are able to add not just one website, but multiple websites. So it can reference multiple websites to generate a single answer, which is actually something quite useful, especially when you have a large data set or your data sits in multiple places. So in addition to public websites, you can also add your internal SharePoint sites as well. And of course, in preview, you also have the ability to upload documents as well. As I've said earlier, if you have policies and certain internal documents that come that have been built inside of your company, you can leverage that existing knowledge base inside of the AI tool as well. So as soon as you add more websites or you add additional documents, you just click on save and that brings up that section over there, which is actually pretty sweet. But now, of course, you don't have much control over the data that comes with generative answers. That's where topics come into play. So topics enable you to add in specific items that you want the bots to speak about that might not be in these various knowledge bases that you have provided. And with that, we'll pass that over to Japhlet to show us how that's done.
Yeah, sure. I guess you can see my screen at this point. So Gomolemo had walked us through creating our Copilot, so I won't show you how to create that, just so we move fast with this. Now we have created our Copilot already, and now we need to create a topic for a specific section of our website, of our organization. We're working with a real estate organization, and the specific session we need to create a topic for is people who need to actually come to learn more about the real estate. They found a specific real estate item and they want to learn more about it. They want to find more information about that. So what we're going to do is come over here. And as usual, if you're conversant with Power Virtual Agent, you know these are topics that have already been created for you, custom topics, and you can head over to create yours. But this time you can do so with Copilot, and we're going to give ours a name. So we're going to call it Book a Real Estate Showing. Something we need to understand next is what are the details we need to collect from this specific user. Something I always like saying to people when I'm introducing Copilot, any of the Copilot features, is you always remain the pilot. Copilot is just an assistant to help you improve the process. You are the pilot of the entire process. You remain the one behind the scene creating all of this. And I'll try as much as possible to point different ways in which Copilot would show that it's a Copilot and not the pilot of this entire solution. So we need to understand the details, like I mentioned earlier. And some of the details we want to collect is the user's full name. We want to also collect the user's email address to communicate with them. We want to identify the specific property that they are interested in. And we also need to collect the date and time that they're interested in coming to that specific property to have a view of it. So we're going to head over and bring our prompts together. Remember, prompts are lines or words that you use to tell your Copilot what to do. And based off those prompts, it carries out specific set of actions. So we're going to come here and say...
Just before you carry on, I think that's an important note to bring about when it comes to prompts, right? Just like how you had said that Copilot is exactly, it's the co-pilot. So you are still the one in charge. When it comes to prompts, you need to be very specific in your prompts, right? You need to tell it exactly what you need, or else you won't get the desired outcome.
Yeah, and that's very important because I've met lots of people who are like, hey, I told Copilot to do this for me and it couldn't. And I'm like, okay, how did you explain it to Copilot? And then you realize that they probably just had 2 words or 3 words or probably a few words, and Copilot was like, oh my God, I don't understand this. But hey, let's dive in and go back to that. So we're going to collect users' full name. So let's just ensure users full name. Next thing I'm going to do is collect users email, collect the address of the property. And then finally, we're going to collect the date and time that the user wants to actually come view that property. We're going to head over and create, and let's see what Copilot would get done for us. So I'm just going to take this, get this out. Notice some key things. It has created trigger phrases for us. We don't have to think of what our user is going to input. And I mean, Gomolemo probably can relate to this, and probably those who are currently on this session, that point where you are thinking to yourself, how would people, tell my bots to carry out this specific action or activity? And you have to do a lot of the thinking. Don't worry, Copilot is already laid out for you with tons of trigger phrases, right? And now it's going to do create a node, a question node. That's what is the user's full name. It's going to ask for the user's email address. But here's something we want to do. In between the question node for the full name and the email address, we want to actually thank the user for providing his details, his full name. So we're going to come here, and if you notice, I have highlighted the question node for the email address, and I'm going to go over to edit with Copilot, and I'm going to say, hey, Copilot, please help me update the message to say thank you to the name of that variable is full name. So full name variable from the previous node. Let's see, and then proceed to ask the question. Now, notice some key things are based off the specific prompts that we have written. First, notice that it is referencing the last node. So it's not just, it didn't forget what was imputed at the beginning. It's still taking notes of what was imputed. And that's why it's a conversation, right? It's a conversation. It still remembers what was imputed last and can carry out activities based off whatever information has been imputed last. So we'll come here and
just as we do like a quick backtrack, I think it's important to note that the fact that it's not just there at the beginning to create the topic, you can still work with Copilot to edit the topic as well and refine it and make it better. Like if you don't know how to add certain nodes, or if you don't know how to use variables like how you're doing now, you can use Copilot to assist you in that feature as well, which is pretty cool. So you're essentially using Copilot to build a Copilot, which is a bit it's a bit weird, but it's cool nonetheless.
Yeah, so I'm just going to impute that text again. A variable previous node.
So again, I think this is it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that we need to be quite specific with what we're saying, so that it understands. But again, it might not always get it right, and then you can just go ahead and fix that in the canvas.
Yeah. So let's come back here and let's see what specific node it's actually selected. So if you notice, it's actually coming down here. So we're just going to take this down and bring it back up. Let's select this again. And I just had to copy it so I don't have to impute it again.
It's actually one of the things with Copilot too, right? You won't always get the exact answer every time. Again, it is AI, so you need to work with its AI bits, and then if it doesn't work out, you can just go ahead and edit it as well.
So what we're going to do is also impute come over here and we can see the image message variation. And just so because of, let's try it one more time. And let's see, okay, so let's just come over here and impute the message variation. And what we wanted it to do was to actually, as you can see from the last node that was created here, to say, thank you very much, full name string. So I'm just going to copy this out and come in here to the email section. And I'll add that in myself.
And it just goes to, I'm sure, right? The Copilot does not know everything, right? So you still need to have that sort of control as to what it outputs, how it works. So you can't just fully rely on it to do everything that you want it to do. Exactly. It's just a tool to help you get to that destination faster.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is save this. And then something else we also spoke about is the adaptive card feature. Basically, the adaptive card feature is really interesting stuff that adds all of these things where all of the details that has been entered, it imputes all of them for you. And you can get over, the users can head over and see all of the different details that they imputed. So what I'm going to do next is come over here, edit, and I would say summarize the information that's been entered by the user. So let me use collected and an adaptive card. And what it's going to do is that it's going to create an adaptive card to flag an error. So let's go over and refresh this. And then we'll just head over and do it again. Great, so let's come over here. I'll take this out. And what I'm going to do is impute this again. So let me use this specific prompt that has been imputed here. Still, your request didn't go through. So let's go over the entire process again and see what exactly the challenge might have been. So let's impute this again. Collect users, full name, email address of property, date and time of the showing. And let's just create this. Again, great. So let's have this section done again.
So again, I think as you going through this part again, I think it's important to note that when you want to make a change to a specific node, just make sure that you select it first. As you can see, like as you were going through it, you selected the node you want to make a change to, and then you try to edit it. Otherwise, the Copilot does not have the context of whatever node you are trying to edit.
Yeah, that's another valid point. So let's go over and click on this white section so we ensure no node is selected. And then edit with Copilots. And let's try out our adaptive card feature again. And hopefully this time it works out.
And I mean, and then luckily we have the learn module. So if it doesn't, we'll just show it. I guess the demo gods are not with us tonight.
Yeah, so what I could do is actually, just in case this doesn't work, I had tried it and it worked out. Let's see. Okay, and the adaptive card section has worked this time, hooray. So notice that it's empty. So what I'm going to do is come here and I can see the properties section. So let's just go back, properties, and notice this is the specific formula it gives me. I have errors, and this was something else I wanted to show you. Copilot can make mistakes and it will make mistakes. This would not go through if I actually try saving this and testing out. It's not going to work because of those errors. So what I did from the last bot was that I edited the formula. Now I am going to paste in the new formula. So just come in here and paste it. This is the new bot I created. This is how the formula should actually look like. You know, taking out all of those columns that showed that the title, the variables were strings. So let me just take it back. And you can see that we had these columns in front and behind that actually showed that this was a string instead of it being something different.
Answering questions in their chats, and someone said that, you know what, sometimes it's just easier to go ahead and do it yourself instead of using the Copilot. But it's really about, you know, making sure that the gate to entry is easy for everyone to use, right? So if you are one who has more familiar with the features of Copilot Studio, what is now Copilot Studio, then go ahead and you can edit it yourself. But the purpose of using natural language is to make sure that everyone has the ability to build out these copilots based on the data that they work with every day. And I think that is really the beauty behind what this product does.
So let me just go back again, and this is the correct code. If you go over to the Learn module, you'll find that this has been updated. So you can just come over here, copy it, and paste the correct formula. So I'm going to come here, and I should see that my formula is good to go. So I'll just save it, and then give it some time for it to get saved. So now at this point, let's actually test it out to see how it works. So I'll come over, I'll save this properly. I'll come over here, test the Copilot, and I can head over here and say book a real estate showing. So I'll just impute my full name. You all are already aware of my full name. My email address, and just put, for the sake of the demo, the address 49 Microsoft Avenue. I guess this should work. So the date and time for 2023 12:00 p.m. and you can see that the adaptive card has come up. It's now requesting me to review the information provided in the adaptive card.
And this just shows that you are indeed the pilot in the situation.
Yes, exactly. It does. It's really, really that simple, that easy for us to get started or get done with this part. Remember, from what we have said, Copilot is just an assistant. It's there to help you out. You remain the pilot. You are the one in charge of the solution. So like my partner Gomolemo had already mentioned, you have to be conversant with what you are building. You have to be conversant with the technology you are using, and then you support Copilot along the way while it gets to build the solution. And actually, like you mentioned, understanding it, having an idea. If I didn't have an idea what the specific error was about, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So have an idea definitely of what the prompt type, or just have a basic understanding of the different parts of it, and it's easy for you to make whatever changes that needs to be made.
Yeah, you can go ahead and extend this further. Again, connecting to those custom plugins that tap into your data, or a connector that you created as well, save it in some sort of data store from this point. But using those generative AI features to create generative answers from websites, and then in turn to have more control over some of the topics that you create through the generative builder or the Copilot to edit a Copilot. That's just some of the things that you can accomplish with Microsoft Copilot Studio. So with that, we'll just go back to our slides. And what we will do next, we've done a bit of talking and a bunch of demo. We'll just do a quick Q&A or knowledge check, just to reference some of the things that we've done, just to make sure that we are on par with what we've shown so far. So the first question, I do know that you'll have links that will be pasted into the chat, or some sort of poll that you can use as well. And we are seeing those polls live as well. So it'll be nice to see what types of answers you guys put in. But Japhlet, what is the primary purpose of Copilots in Microsoft Copilot Studio? We have 4 possible answers here, to automate website searches. That's an interesting one. It could be possible. It sounds good. B, to enhance the chatbot's appearance. Also, not a bad shout. That's actually quite good. C, to help with bot creation by using natural language. Sounds familiar. I don't know. Or to deploy bots to multiple platforms. We're getting a bunch of votes in. So far, about 93% of voters are going for C. What do you think?
So, first off, website searches, that's naturally the goal of Copilot. From what you mentioned, yes, it goes over to the websites and finds information, but that's not the primary purpose. So A is not the answer. For the user interface, the appearance, that's not also the answer.
No, it doesn't sound good.
So we're looking at between C and D. Let's give some time to see how many persons go for C and how many persons go for D. Then we'll go over and check out what the answers be.
Yeah, we have multiple people voting for all the answers. But for now, first place is C with about 94%. And we have second place going to D with about 4%. So I think we're in a safe place. We can go ahead and reveal that the answer is indeed C, right? It's to help with the bot creation using natural language. And that's exactly what Japhlet just showed us right now, using that natural language Copilot text to help you build a Copilot in Copilot Studio. Right, the majority of you got that right, so that is great. Let's go ahead to question 2 as well. Question 2. Which feature in Microsoft Copilot Studio allows the bot to present information from multiple sources without the need for creating topics? Right. This is also one that can be a bit tricky. We have generative responses, Copilot Builder, Conversation Booster, and Azure AI Bots Service. A lot of these things serve the Copilots in different ways. A lot of these things might not even exist. I don't know if that is a big clue there, but let's see what the responses are coming through. What are you thinking there, Japhlet?
So it's definitely, we haven't spoken about Azure AI Bot Service, so I don't think that's an answer. D is not part of it. I'm looking at A, B, or C. Let's see what people are actually going for.
This is actually an interesting one because I'm looking at the votes coming in, and there seems to be the majority of people are voting for B, while we have second place going to now C, and then we have third place going to A, Conversation Booster. Now, I don't know if it's maybe our fault for not explaining it properly. I don't know. Or maybe there was a bit of confusion with some of the wording, brand new products, brand new features. But in this case, it's the minority. The minority of the people, 15% of viewers voted for A, which is Conversation Booster. Now, I think we can understand why there is a bit of a confusion here, because it does use generative AI to create those generative answers, right? I know that's very similar to generative responses, but it's generative answers. And generative answers uses that to boost your conversations through the URLs and knowledge bases that you provide for that Copilot. That's the answer for question 2. Let's go. Do we have one more? Let's go for one more.
Yes, we do. The last question, and this is, how do you test your bots in Microsoft Copilot Studio?
Or rather, how do we test your Copilot? in Microsoft Copilot Studio.
Yeah, because it's
A lot
actually
of
now
language changes.
Copilot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's gonna take a while to get used to.
yeah.
Again, 4 answers. A, deploy the bot to Azure. Right. You spoke very briefly about the certain channels that you have available to publish your Copilot. So maybe that's an option. We can select the test your bots button in the lower left corner of the screen. We were testing the bots quite regularly throughout the building, especially in your part of the demo. So that is a good shout as well. C, by turning on the track between topics toggle. We did not cover this in the section, but this is something that can happen inside of Copilot Studio. But is it the answer to this question? We don't know. Or by publishing the bot to a test site. How do we test our Copilots, Japhlet?
I think actually telling people the answer would not make this fun. So I'll prefer to keep my mouth sealed.
Sure.
Until we get lots of responses.
Yeah, if we're looking at the votes, the majority, about 91% of viewers are voting for B, while the second highest votes are going to D, which is quite interesting. Should we just pull them out of their misery?
Yeah, I think we should. I mean,
Sure.
It's understandable for a lot of people to actually go for D, but by the time we're going for D, we're actually a little bit moving out of the environment of Microsoft Copilot Studio. We're actually saying within the studio, you're not going out, you're just testing it. And that was B, the lower left corner of the screen. Remember at that point where I had to input the user's questions, what the user wanted to say, and then it went ahead to actually give me the responses.
Right.
I think it's been pretty good walking through all of this.
We had about 87% of viewers voting for B, so that's a good chunk.
And hey, whether you got it right or wrong, something I'd love to mention is you can actually go back to the module and get acquainted with all of these things. Don't be scared of failing. Don't be scared of not getting this right. You just go back and continue learning. Gomolemo, would you like to do a quick summary of some of the things we've spoken about in this session?
Yeah, so again, just going back to what we spoke about at the beginning, we briefly spoke about what is Copilot Studio and how it can help you to, one, create your own custom copilots or extend and customize the current Microsoft Copilots that some of you have access to, and then using some of those generative AI features, namely Generative Builder, to create topics inside of the Copilots as well, or generative answers to use existing knowledge bases, either in the form of documents or websites or SharePoint sites, to generate answers for your users using those Copilots. And we also went through a demo to build out these Copilots using these AI features as well. Again, we didn't make a satisfactory sacrifice to our demo gods. However, we do hope you saw the flow of how that works out, and we hope that you also visit the Learn module to just try out some of these features for yourself. This is also part of a larger Learn module that speaks about Copilots in other parts of other Microsoft products as well, which is pretty cool. And in the spirit of Copilot Studio, some of you were asking a bunch of these questions in chat. Stuff like, do we have a community page, or is there current docs that we can look through as well? Please, here are some of the resources around Copilot Studio. You know, fresh off the press, we have our announcement blog, we have a demo. If you don't have access to Copilot Studio yet, you can see how those generative AI features work in our demo link. We have the sizzle video just for you to see some of those highlights as well. Again, the docs explaining all the various parts of the Copilot Studio, how you can go ahead and customize your own Copilots as well. And I hope you guys try Microsoft Copilot Studio once you leave this session. Japhlet, what is next?
Yeah, there are other sessions that are part of the Learn Life series. Be sure to check them out. This is actually focused on Microsoft Defender, deploying a Microsoft Defender for endpoint environments. And this is going to be another interesting one where you get to see how this comes to life. So be sure to also try out this Learn Live session and enjoy the remaining parts of Microsoft Ignite.
Thank you. Cheers.